As pop fans, we like to think that our favorites have a distinct creative vision, that they have a unique point of view musically, and that they have their own style. On the other hand, there's that nagging feeling, that cynical take, that pop music has always been about money, vying for commercial success at the expense of music that would otherwise push boundaries. I'm usually on the more positive side of the fence, where I can admire the beautiful creativity in modern pop albums of all kinds, but Tate McRae's So Close to What, unfortunately, pushes me toward that nagging doubt. That feeling that we're all doomed to consume disappointing slop for all eternity. Is it that bad? Let's take it track by track and we'll see. Track 1, Miss Possessive. The album has a very strong start, actually, with this catchy hip-hop tune. The groove and rhythm are a little derivative of similar hip-hop and R&B songs in recent years, but apart from that, I find myself enjoying it, dare I say loving it. I love the harmonies in the chorus, and the rapped hook post-chorus, and the almost flamenco-like percussion at the end is really cool too. I just wish this song had a real bridge and some ad-libs, and that minor criticism, as it turns out, is a bad omen for the rest of the tracks. Track 2, Revolving Door. This song is immediately more boring, a melodic, digestible, vibey dance track that skips along softly, but it feels much closer to elevator music than the first track. You know, music that kind of just exists but doesn't really grab your attention. This song does highlight her vocal tone, which is almost kind of innocent and childlike, but that childlike tone sounds a bit bizarre to me when paired with the more mature lyrics. I feel like I'm looking for a more womanly voice, which I believe she's capable of implementing, but she just chooses not to. And her tendency towards cursive singing also doesn't appeal to me either. It's a completely different style from the first track, which is a little jarring, and it makes me confused as to which direction the album wants to go exactly. Track 3, Blood on My Hands, featuring Flo Milli. I can hear a SZA influence in this track compositionally and in the chord progressions. The song is cleanly produced, but it doesn't offer much else. Again, this is elevator music. Her voice is so drenched in effects that sometimes it's hard to tell what her voice actually sounds like. Like, there are times when I feel like I'm listening to a robotic AI singing rather than a human. I get that this is modern pop and some editing is to be expected, but this stuff is just egregious. Track 4, Dear God. Another fairly boring track overall. There's an interesting drop in the second verse that I enjoyed. A brief moment of creativity in what I'm gathering is quite the generic haze of an album. And this particular song is quite repetitive, but in fairness, I do prefer it over the previous song at least. The drops and clean percussion with a focus on rhythm are really appreciated. Her vocals, however, remain underwhelming. We go into a halftime groove towards the end, which does add a touch of development, and I like that. And in the grand scheme of things, this one might stand out just a tad. Track 5, Purple Lace Bra. This one is definitely a contender for the best song on the album. The instrumental is so pretty. It has a great vibe and a beautiful groove. It also demands more from her vocally because it's so intimate. The chorus is soul-meltingly gorgeous, with some lovely string samples and atmospheric bends. Overall, surprisingly creative, given how the previous tracks sound. And I'm not crazy about the repetitive bridge, though I do appreciate the little synth arpeggios adding some melody and flair. It is another song that could have benefited from some ad-libs, but there are a few vocoder melodies in the final chorus for variety. Overall, this song is really good. I really enjoyed it and I added it to my playlist. Now I'd like to take a moment to discuss this album's lyrics, because you might have noticed that I'm not discussing each track individually, lyric-wise. That's basically because, from what I read of the lyrics, they're pretty surface-level, typical stuff. Obviously, they mean something to her and potentially to you, and I don't want to take away from that, but that's why I'm not discussing the lyrics. They're fine for the style of the album, and that's that. Track 6, Sports Car. Another standout for sure. This is a really strong single and I enjoyed watching her making of video for this track. She admits to being influenced by the early 2000s on this song, i.e. Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls. The melodic pre-chorus does contrast nicely with the whispered chorus, as she points out herself. The track is overall very infectious, very filthy sounding. It slaps. The production is also elevated by that starry melody towards the end, which is an amazing moment. Vocally, I still think she could have offered more on this song and on the album in general. Her vocals in general are adequate, but very average. Like, a more seasoned and skilled vocalist would have elevated these songs immensely. To be fair, maybe all she needs is time, but I'm not convinced that vocal improvement is part of her long-term goals when she's this reliant on post-production. Track 7, Signs. This track's intro with the trap flow and the heavy autotune is not reassuring, and sure enough, the whole song turns out to be pretty bad. Forced, cursive, pronunciation and generic production, the suffocating reverb rips all of the impact out of the music. The hook is not even catchy. This song almost sounds like it was intended for some official soundtrack for some Netflix slop. The key change at the end is also quite comical and unearned. The production is extremely trite with that low bass droning in an attempt to sound atmospheric. Like, just not very good. Track 8, I Know Love, featuring the kid Leroy or Leroy. This one straight up sounds like a stock beat. It's hard to even tell what emotion the song is trying to evoke. The chorus is annoyingly repetitive, grating. The kid's verse, however, is pretty enjoyable, and it actually highlights how weak Tate's vocals are. I'll be honest, if this song were performed entirely by him, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. And the sound design across all of the tracks at this point does feel very stale, lacking in variety. It sounds like a lot of the same synth samples are being reused. Very disappointing track. Track 9, Like I Do. Another trap beat with a very dated sound. Kind of sounds like what an AI would make if you prompted it to make a trap pop song. In other words, the world doesn't need more music like this, especially done in this fashion. Like, the chorus is repetitive, but strangely lacking in a good hook. You know, you can't just make a chorus repetitive and hope for the best. It has to connect emotionally. This is pure slop. And the spoken word part is very cringeworthy too, but I do appreciate the glitchy effects on her voice, and cool ideas like that on this album are very few and far between. Track 10, It's Okay, I'm Okay. I like that this track tries to switch things up with some late 2000s style pop, a bit more moody and dance oriented, but it just does the bare minimum. The chorus is terrible and the vocal delivery is very annoying. It's giving lazy, throwaway fodder that some producer made in his bedroom one night and decided to sell for $5. It sounds cheap, inexpensive, and I'd go so far to say unmusical. Track 11, No, I'm Not in Love. The good thing is that we're back in bop territory here with a fun, flirty, bouncy vibe. This song is in fact one of the better ones on the album. However, again, I feel like I'm being inundated with reverb, and this kind of dated production really shows to me that Tate is very hesitant to take risks. And that risk aversion really speaks to the lack of bridges, for example, on the album. She's afraid of making any song too long because that affects streamability. Her efforts, at least in her music, are not going towards artistic expression or developing an idea. The way that these tracks are structured makes it transparent to me that it's more about achieving broad commercial appeal. Shock, horror, I know. Track 12, Means I Care. Apart from some nice percussive details in the production, this song is entirely forgettable. It's bog standard, safe, non-threatening, inoffensive content. The bridge is slightly catchy, but to be honest, while listening to this song, I'm just waiting for it to end. The forced na-na-nas towards the end come across as so tropey, inauthentic. Like, it's hard to tell who she is as an artist when the whole album feels like a mishmash of genres. Pop, R&B, dance, trap, hip-hop, indie pop. And touching on different genres is usually a good thing, but the way she does it, it's like she puts a bit of each ingredient into the pot, but never enough of any one ingredient for it to be flavorful. She's covering all the bases, but she's just stirring them into one bland, soupy gloop. Track 13, Green Light. This song switches things up by increasing the BPM, beats per minute, but apart from that, I'm struggling to find anything about this song that's distinct. It sounds like something that Tinashe put in the trash folder, and it was retrieved by one of Tate's producers out of desperation for material. The chorus isn't catchy, and it's not fun to listen to or sing along to. The song has the same cadence as most of the other tracks on the album. I'm just simply eager to move on from this one. It gave me absolutely nothing. Track 14, Two Hands. This song has more energy and some interesting vocal delivery for once. It feels like a thin slice of old school R&B, maybe with a hint of New Jack Swing slightly. The chorus is actually pretty cool because I like how her vocals ascend every couple bars. There is an attempt at a bridge, but it's not really a true bridge that gives us respite from the rest of the song. It's very much the same beat that continues on with some elements added or removed. And she does offer some ad-libs, but they're too low in the mix, almost like the producers don't want us to hear her. So it's an average track, but at this point, average is better than poor. Track 15, Siren Sounds. This is a bonus track, and a really boring one that incorporates the done-to-death 6-4-1-5 chord progression. It's funny how the production evokes something deep, but the lyrics and vocal delivery don't really hold any interesting meaning. The synth melody in the bridge has been used countless times in similar sounding semi-electronic indie pop songs. It's another song that would do well in a stock beats library, fine as elevator music, but if you're looking for something with substance, it's a waste of time. By far the worst song of the bunch, and in my opinion, shouldn't have seen the light of day even as a bonus track. Track 16, Nostalgia. The fact that this song starts with acoustic guitars is so contrived, pseudo-authentic. So not only is she trying to appeal to all of the fans of the previous genres I mentioned, but she's also trying to break into the country market with this one. We have some twang in the guitars, all of the country tropes that you could expect, except for the good vocals that normally come with country music. So in a way, this song is quite the monstrosity. It's aiming for down-to-earth authenticity that comes with country music without any authenticity at its core. But since this song is a little bit more pared back and her vocals are more exposed, it's another reminder of what this album could have been with a stronger vocal performance. And it's misfires like this song that I find simply appalling in their fakery. So as you can tell, my experience with this album is far more disappointing than I expected. I went into it having heard Sports Car and was hoping that the rest of the songs would follow a similar quality. You know, good, solid pop, nothing groundbreaking, nothing ingenious, but enjoyable enough. What I got, however, is a borderline soulless, annoying, boring collection of tracks that clashes with my personal taste to an insane degree. And that could sound overly dramatic, but it is true. I have nothing against commercial pop music as long as it carries some element of expressiveness, creativity, when the music feels like an extension of the artist and their passion. Unfortunately, the impression I get from this album is that the music functions more as a platform for Tate's visuals and her abilities as a dancer, which are quite remarkable to be fair, and if that was the intention, mission accomplished. But I am reviewing music here, and this music is simply a vehicle for the next big thing. On a positive note, there are at least some good standout moments and tracks on this album, my personal picks being Mispossessive, Dear God, Purple Lace Bra, and Sports Car. The rest of the music, honestly, and in a nutshell, I simply found to be joyless. I wish I could offer some optimism on where Tate's music could possibly go from here, but right now it appears to be too far gone to be redeemed. I hope I'm wrong about that. Time will tell. Alright, what did you think of this album and of my review? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always open to discussion and disagreements and agreements, hopefully. If you don't know me, my name is Ohakade. I'm the composer for the symphonic metal project Valkada. You can check out our music in the description. There's also a link to my full reaction database spreadsheet if you're curious about what other music I've covered on the channel. I'm also on Patreon if you fancy your own reaction and review requests and exclusive content. Other than that, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks so much and take care.